trouble the water, way in the water, way in the water, children, way in the water. God's gonna trouble the water, way in the water, way in the water, children, way in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from home. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. A long way from home. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from home. A long way from home.
Verse 6. So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiachin his son reigned in his stead. And the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land. For the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt. Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, according to all that his father had done. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Jehoiachin, the king of Yehudah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother, and his servants, and his princes, and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. And he carried out from there all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Shlomo, king of Israel, had made in the temple of Yahweh, as Yahweh had said. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remains save the poorest sort of the people of the land.
So we're going into the first deportation, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. So, brother, some of us should have been left in the land instead of coming to America. Think about the poorest sort of the people. Verse 15. And he carried away Jehoiachin to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wife, and his officers, and the mighty of the land. Those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. And all the men of might, even 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths 1,000, all who were strong and apt for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah, his father's brother, king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Yeriyahu of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, according to all that Jehoiakim had done.
Regards to all, now these people seen all of this now. They've witnessed all of this, and they still offering that paganism. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 20. But through the anger of Yahweh, it came to pass in Jerusalem and Yehudah, until he had cast them out from his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon.
Okay, let's go and see what Jeremiah had to say about that. Jeremiah 21 and verse 1. Hold your place there, because we're coming right back here. Jeremiah 21 and verse 1. Jeremiah 21 and verse 1.
The word which came unto Jeremiah from Yahweh, when King Zedekiah sent unto him Pashur the son of Micaiah, and Zephaniah the son of Melchiah the priest, saying, Inquire, I pray thee, of Yahweh for us. For Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon maketh war against us. If so be that Yahweh will deal with us according to all his wondrous works, that he may go up from us. Then said Jeremiah unto them, Thus shall you say to Zedekiah, Thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel, Behold, I will turn back the weapons of war that are in your hands, with which you fight against the king of Babylon, and against the Chaldeans, who besiege you outside the walls, and I will assemble them into the midst of this city. And I myself will fight against you with an outstretched hand, and with a strong arm, even in anger, and in fury, and in great wrath. And I will smite the inhabitants of the city, both man and beast. They shall die of a great pestilence. And afterward, says Yahweh, I will deliver Zedekiah, king of Yehudah, and his servants, and the people, and such as are left in this city, from the pestilence, from the sword, and from the famine, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of those who seek their life. And he shall smite them with the edge of the sword. He shall not spare them, neither have pity, nor have mercy. And unto this people thou shalt say, Thus says Yahweh, Behold, I set before you the way of life and the way of death. He that abideth in the city shall die by the sword, and by the famine, and by the pestilence. But he that goeth out and falleth to the Chaldeans that besiege you, he shall live, and his life shall be unto him for a prey.
Right, but when Jeremiah went and told these people that, what they said, man, you done sided with them people, man. And they were ready to kill him, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 10. For I have set my face against this city for evil and not for good, says Yahweh. It shall be given into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall burn it with fire. And touching the house of the king of Yehudah, say, Hear the word of Yahweh. O house of David, thus says Yahweh, Execute judgment in the morning, and deliver him that is spoiled out of the hand of the oppressor, lest my fury go out like fire and burn, that none can quench it, because of the evil of your doings. Behold, I am against thee, O inhabitant of the valley, and rock of the plain, says Yahweh, who say, Who shall come down against us? Or who shall enter into our habitation? Behold, I will punish you according to the fruit of your doings, says Yahweh, and I will kindle a fire in her forest, and it shall devour all things round about it. Thus says Yahweh, Go down to the house of the king of Yehudah, and speak there this word, and say, Hear the word of Yahweh, O king of Yehudah, who sitteth upon the throne of David, you and your servants and your people that enter in by these gates. Thus says Yahweh, Execute judgment and righteousness, and deliver the spoil out of the hand of the oppressor, and do no wrong, do no violence to the stranger, the fatherless, or widow, neither shed innocent blood in these things, in this place, For if you do this thing indeed, then there shall enter in by the gates of this house kings sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, he and his servants and his people. But if you will not hear these words, I swear by myself, says Yahweh, that this house shall become a desolation. But thus says Yahweh unto the king's house of Yehudah, You are Gilead unto me, and the head of Lebanon. Yet surely I will make you a wilderness and cities which are not inhabited. And I will prepare destroyers against you, every one with his weapons, and they shall cut down your choice cedars and cast them into the fire. And many nations shall pass by this city, and they shall say every man to his neighbor, why have Yahweh done thus unto this great city? Then they shall answer, because they have forsaken the covenant of Yahweh, their Elohim, and worship other gods and serve them. Weep not for the dead, neither bemoan him, but weep sore, but weep bitterly for him that goeth away, for he shall return no more, nor see his native country.
Okay, my brother, let's go on back. Y'all can read the rest of that when you get some time. But let's go back to 2 Kings 25 and pick that up at verse 1. 2 Kings 20. Just giving you some idea as to how this book has to be read. Each prophet told you which king he prophesied in. And all you have to do is go in and see what was going on and go read the prophets until you find out that situation, and then put that situation, then you know which prophet went to which king at which time. Like the Lord said, that like the scripture said, the word of the Lord came unto them here a little and there a little. Line upon line, concept upon concept, and precept upon precept. Why? So that we would go and fall and be taken and be snared. But see, if our fathers would rather, but if we would turn to the Lord with all our heart and soul and seek after this word the way that it was given, then truly we'll find our Creator in this book here. You ain't going to find him walking down the street. You ain't going to wake up in the middle of the night. He's going to be standing over you. You're going to find him in this book. 2 Kings 25. Pick that up, verse 1.
And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came he and all his hosts against Jerusalem and encamped against it, and they built forts against it round about. And the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. And on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land.
18 months, right? Well, here, brother.
And the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between the two walls, which is by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were against the city round about. And the king went away toward the plain. And the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. So they took the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah, and they gave judgment upon him. And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him with fetters of bronze, and carried him to Babylon. And in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem. And he burned the house of Yahweh, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every great man's house burned he with fire. And all the army of the Chaldeans, who were with the captain of the guard, broke down the walls of Jerusalem round about. Now the rest of the people who were left in the city, and the fugitives who fell away to the king of Babylon, with the remnant of the multitude, did Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carry it away.
So now we went into another deportation, right? Go ahead, brother.
But the captain of the guard left the poor of the land to be vine dressers and husbands. And the pillars of brass that were in the house of Yahweh, and the bases, and the brazen seat that was in the house of Yahweh, did the Chaldeans break in pieces, and carry the bronze of them to Babylon. And the pots, and the shovels, and the snuffers, and the spoons, and all the vessels of bronze with which they ministered, took their away. And the fire pans, and the bases, and such things as were of gold, as gold, and of silver, as silver, the captain of the guard took away. The 2 pillars, 1 seed, and the bases which Shlomo had made for the house of Yahweh, the bronze of all these vessels was beyond weight. The height of the 1 pillar was 18 cubits, and the capital upon it was brass, and the height of the capital 3 cubits, and the braided works and pomegranates upon the capital round about, all of bronze, and like unto these that had the second pillar with braided work. And the captain of the guard took Zariah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and the three keepers of the door, and out of the city he took an officer who was set over the men of war, and 5 men of them who were in the king's presence, who were found in the city, and the principal scribe of the host, who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land who were found in the city. And Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, took these and brought them to the king of Babylon at Riblah. And the king of Babylon smote them and slew them at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So Yehudah was carried away out of their land. And as for the people who remained in the land of Yehudah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had left, even over them he made Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, ruler. And when all the captains of the armies, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, there came to Gedaliah at Mizpah even Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, and Yehanan, the son of Kareah, and Sariah, the son of Tanhumeth, and the Netophathite, and Yaazaniah, the son of Amachathite, they and their men. And Gedaliah swore to them and to their men, and said to them, Fear not to be the servants of the Chaldeans. Dwell in the land, and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. But it came to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, the son of Elishama of the seed royal, came, and 10 men with him, and smote Gedaliah, so that he died, and the Jews and the Chaldeans who were with him at Mizpah. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldeans. And it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiachin, king of Yehudah, in the 12th month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, that Evil-Merodach, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, did liberate Jehoiachin, king of Yehudah, from prison. For he spoke kindly to him, and set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon, and changed his prison garment, and he did eat his food regularly before him all the days of his life. And his alliance was a continual alliance given him by the king, a daily rate for every day, all the days of his life.
Okay, my brother, let's go in the first chapter of Daniel, Daniel 1 and verse 1. Some good books to read right around in there: Esther and Ezra, Nehemiah, and those books right behind Chronicles. Those are some good books to read about what happened in the land, in the different lands that our people was in, so you can keep a grip on what was going on. Let's go and see what was going on down in Ahili, Iraq, in old ancient Babylon. Let's go into Daniel 1 and pick that up at verse 1. My brother.
In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, the king of Babylon, the king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Adonai gave Jehoiakim, king of Yehudah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of Elohim, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spoke unto Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he would bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well-favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and gifted in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat, and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end of them they might stand before the king. Now among these were of the children of Yehudah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name of Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah Shadrach, and to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now Elohim had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who have appointed your meat and your drink. But why should he see your faces worse like than the children who are of your sort? Then shall you make me endanger my head with the king. Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove your servants out of 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink.
Let them give us vegetables to eat, right? Do you know what that guy named that died too long ago that wrote all that thing about the kids, Dr. Seuss? Y'all know what he had to say? The best about your diet, he said the best thing for a person to do is not to have any dairy products or meat after the age of 2 years. This is what causes a lot of our problems that we have. But we don't adhere to these things because we like that flesh. So we have to deal with it that way. But the best thing for you to do, your best diet would be just what God gave Adam. The herbs of the field and the fruits of the trees. Yeah, go ahead and read.
Verse 13. Then let our countenance be looked upon before you, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat, and as you see, deal with your servants. So he consented to them in this matter, and proved in 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children who did eat the portion of the king's meat. Thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them pulse. As for these 4 children, Elohim gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, and Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. And Daniel continued even unto the first year of King Cyrus.
Now, when they brought us over here, they didn't want none of this. All they wanted you to do was get out there and pull that plow, whatever work they had you to do. They didn't want any of our wise men to do anything but show them what they had to do in the land and do whatever they had to do right there on that land, so people, none of our people would get any notoriety. But go ahead and read, my brother.
And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, and his spirit was troubled, and his sleep went from him. Then Nebuchadnezzar commanded to summon the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spoke the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation of it, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. But if you show the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation of it. They answered again and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it. The king answered and said, I know of certainty that you would gain the time, because you see the thing is gone from me. But if you will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you. For you have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me till the time is changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can show me its interpretation. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can reveal the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that acts such that act such things of any magician or astrologer or chaldean. And it is a rare thing that the king requires. And there's no other that can reveal it before the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, who was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of the Elohim of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the Elohim of heaven. Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of Yahweh forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth not wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to those who know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank you and praise you, O you Elohim of my fathers, who have given me wisdom and might, and have made known unto me now what we desired of you. For you have now made known unto us the king's matter. Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him, destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will reveal unto the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captains of Yehudah that will make known unto the king the interpretation. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, are you able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation of it? Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers reveal unto the king. But there is a God in heaven who revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed are these. As for you, O king, your thoughts came into your mind upon your bed. What shall come to pass hereafter? And he who revealeth secrets make known to you what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that you might know the thoughts of your heart.
But for their sakes, right? Okay, for our sakes and for the king's enemies' sakes, that this thing was going to be made known. So go ahead and read, my brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 31. You, O king, saw and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before you, and the form of it was terrible. This image head was of fine gold, his breast and his arm of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of arm, his feet part of iron and part of clay. You saw until a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and broke them to pieces. Then were the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth.
Now we notice that stone that was broke out of the mountain didn't smite the image on his head. That's the first place you want to smite somebody with a brick, right? On the head, right? So what he did, he smote him on his toes, letting us know that it would be the ending of this kingdom that would cause that whole kingdom to fall down. That it would fall down right in the ending, which was the worst part of it. It was the toes that was made out of iron and clay, right? Mm-hmm. So we can expect this then, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 37. This is the dream, and we will tell its interpretation before the king. You, O king, are a king of kings. For the Elohim of heaven have given you a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wherever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heavens have he given into your hand, and have made you ruler over them all. You are this head of gold. And after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to you, and another third kingdom of bronze, which shall bear rule over all the earth.
So he had a second kingdom, would be the Medo-Persian Empire that would come in, and then the third kingdom, which would be the Greek Empire with Alexander the Great, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas you saw the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as you saw the iron mixed with miry clay.
When we look up on the earth today, we can see that the fourth kingdom, the Roman Empire, has succumbed to be a divided kingdom, hasn't it? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 42. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
And they would not cleave because of ideologies, because of cultures, right? Because of the wars that they would fight against each other. Go ahead and read it, brother.
And in the days of these kings shall the Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Since Rome fell in 476 A.D., we've had 9 kings that has come up to try to revive the Holy Roman Empire, and no kingdom has been set up by God upon this earth that was going to stand forever, has it been? So we know it's going to come in when? In the 10th king of the Babylonian Empire. Go ahead and read, my brother.
Verse 45. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great Elohim have made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation of it sure. Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. The king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your Elohim is a God of gods and the Lord of kings and revealer of secrets, seeing you could reveal this secret. Then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many gifts and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and the chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king.
Now let's go and read something that one of the prophets of the captivity had to say to the children of Israel. Ezekiel 9 and verse 1. Ezekiel 9, and we're going to pick that up at verse 1. I think I'm going to stop after this piece of scripture here, and we'll pick it up next week. Quiver leave off that. Ezekiel 9, and pick that up at verse 1, my brother.
He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have the charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lies toward the north, and every man with a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side, and they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the Elohim of Israel was gone up from the cherub upon which he was to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, who had the writer's inkhorn by his side.
Now we see Yahweh, the Spirit is moving, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 4. And Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that are done in the midst of it.
Now this prophecy here took place after Judah went back into the land after the 70-year captivity. This is when this prophecy, because when our people got back in the land, they were happy at first, but right after that, they turned their back to the Lord just like their fathers did. So go ahead and read, my brother. So it's now you're going to have to kick them out again, right? Go ahead, bro.
And to the others he said in mine hearings, go after him through the city and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have pity. Verse 6, slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began with the ancient men who were before the house. And he said unto them, defile the house and fill the courts with the slain. Go forth. And they went forth and slew in the city.
Now, chapter 10 and verse 1, my brother. So he's told him, say, okay, the Lord moved up, the glory of the God of Israel went up from the cherub where he was sitting to the threshold of the house of the temple, right? Okay, go ahead, chapter 10 and verse 1.
Then I looked, and behold, in the firmament that was above the head of the cherubim, there appeared over them, as it were, a sapphire stone, like the appearance of the likeness of a throne. And he spoke unto the man clothed with linen, and said, go in between the wheels, even under the cherub, and fill your hand with coals of fire from between the cherubim, and scatter them over the city. And he went in my sight. Now the cherubim stood on the right side of the house, when the man went in, and the cloud filled the inner court. Then the glory of Yahweh went up from the cherub and stood over the threshold of the house, and the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was full of the brightness of Yahweh's glory.
He already told him to defile the house, right? So he had to get out of there, didn't he? Go ahead, bro.
And the sound of the cherubim's wings was heard even to the outer court, like the voice of the Almighty Elohim when he speaks.
Verse 18.
Then the glory of Yahweh departed from off the threshold of the house and stood over the cherubim. And the cherubim lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth in my sight. When they went out, the wheels also were beside them. And everyone stood at the door of the east gate of Yahweh's house, and the glory of the Elohim of Israel was over them above. This is the living creature that I saw under the Elohim of Israel by the river of Shabbat, and I knew that they were the cherubim.
So now we see what? That the cherubim lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth, in his sight, rather, and then they went out, right? And the wheels were beside them and everything, and one stood at the door of the east gate of the Lord's house, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Everyone had 4 faces apiece, and everyone 4 wings, and the likeness of the hands of a man was under their wings. And as for the likeness of their faces, they were the same faces which I saw by the river of Shabbat, their appearances and themselves. They went every one straight forward. Moreover, the Spirit lifted me up and brought me unto the east gate of Yahweh's house, which looked eastward. And behold, at the door of the gate 25 men, among whom I saw Yaazaniah, the son of Ashur, and Pelatiah, the son of Benaiah, princes of the people.
They forgot what happened to their fathers, didn't they? And Yahweh let them go back, and they built the temple back and everything. The glory of the Lord came back in and filled the house and so forth and so on. Now they're chasing them out again. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir.
Since Ezekiel was in the first deportation, that Zedekiah and the people also was still in Israel. So this actually, Nebuchadnezzar actually had torn down the temple.
Well, I think he had. The reason why I think he had, the reason why, you might be right, because this took place in 594, and they came in 606, so you might be right. This might be the people that they left in the city, and they still didn't see what was going on. After the deportation, he had left them in the city, you're right, he had left them in the city, and then they came back and did what? Then they came back and looked in the temple, and they're doing the same thing all over again. Didn't pay that stuff no attention. I stand corrected on that, my sister. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. Verse 2. Then said he unto me, Son of man, these are the men that plot mischief and give wicked counsel in this city, who say, it is not near, Let us build houses. This city is the cauldron, and we are the flesh. Therefore prophesy against them. Prophesy, O son of man. And the Spirit of Yahweh fell upon me and said unto me, Speak, thus says Yahweh. Thus have you said, O house of Israel, for I know the things that come into your mind, every one of them. You have multiplied your slain in this city, and you have filled its streets with the slain. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, your slain, whom you have laid in the midst of it, they are the flesh, and this city is the cauldron. But I will bring you forth out of the midst of it. You have feared the sword, and I will bring a sword upon you, says the Lord God. And I will bring you out of the midst of it, and deliver you into the hands of strangers, and will execute judgments among you. You shall fall by the sword. I will judge you in the border of Israel, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. This city shall not be your cauldron, neither shall you be the flesh in the midst of it, but I will judge you in the border of Israel. And you shall know that I am Yahweh, for you have not walked in my statutes, neither executed mine ordinances, but have done after the manner of the heathen who are round about you. And it came to pass, when I prophesied, that Pelatiah, the son of Benaiah, died. Then fell I down upon my face and cried with a loud voice and said, Ah, Lord God, will you make a full end of the remnant of Israel? Again the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, your brethren, even your brethren, the men of your kindred, and all the house of Israel holy, are they unto whom the inhabitants of Jerusalem have said, Yet you far from Yahweh, unto us is this land given in possession. Therefore say, Thus says the Lord God, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come.
Amen.
Therefore say, Thus says the Lord God, I will even gather you from the people and assemble you out of the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel.
Now he's talking about even further down the line, isn't he? Go ahead, brother. He's talking about our return back to the land now. Go ahead, brother.
And they shall come there, and they shall take away all its detestable things and all its abominations from them. And I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of their flesh, and will give them a heart of flesh, that they may walk in my statutes and keep mine ordinances and do them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God.
Amen. What this shows us is that we can't do anything unless Yahweh get in there and do it for us. Because we ain't going to do nothing right. We're going to do what we want to do. We're going to follow this flesh. And everybody else's flesh we want to follow. But go ahead and read, brother.
But as for them, whose heart walk after the heart of their detestable things and their abominations, I will recompense their way upon their own heads, says the Lord God. Then did the cherubim lift up their wings and the wheels beside them, and the glory of the Elohim of Israel was over them above. And the glory of Yahweh went up from the midst of the city and stood upon the mountain which is on the east side of the city.
So it went to the Mount of Olives, right? The same mountain that the Messiah rose from when he ascended into heaven. And that the apostle say, the angel told the apostle, say, you men of Galilee, why stand you gazing up into heaven? Said the same way he came is the same way he left, is the same way he's going to come. And Zechariah 14 backs all of that up. Go ahead and read it, my brother.
Verse 24. Afterward, the Spirit took me up and brought me in a vision by the Spirit of Elohim into Chaldea to them of the captivity. So the vision that I had seen went up from me. Then I spoke unto them of the captivity, all the things that Yahweh had shown.
Okay, my brother, I don't want to go no further than that. Now, what these scriptures that we've read, these scriptures have revealed to us the reactions of Yahweh when we are decent and in order, and when we take lightly the holy things of the children of Israel and commit folly in these things. The attributes given us is set to lead us to perfection in whatever is sanctioned by the church. Therefore, the Spirit is subject unto the bearer. Seeing that our action or inactions govern the Spirit's reaction, One must learn how to walk in the Spirit so one won't fulfill the lust of the flesh and holy things. Because when we fulfill the lust of the flesh and holy things, then truly we're without God in the world and alienated from the commonwealth of Israel. Except at verse 1. Daniel chapter 4 and verse 1.
Nebuchadnezzar, the king, unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high Elohim have wrought toward me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation.
Amen.
I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and I told the dream to them, but they did not make known unto me its interpretation. But at the last, Daniel came in before me, whose name is Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And to Daniel I told the dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in you, and no secret troubleth thee, tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation of it. Thus were the visions of mine head in my bed. I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height of it was great. The tree grew and was strong, and its height reached unto heaven, and the sight of it to the end of all the earth. Its leaves were fair, and its fruit much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shelter under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in its boughs, and all flesh was fed from it. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and an holy one came down from heaven. He cried aloud and said thus, hew down the tree and cut off its branches, shake off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from its branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of its root in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass in the tender grass of the field, and let him be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him.
Now, this 7 times, this is the times that the Messiah talked about. There was the time of the Gentiles, you see. So what you do is you multiply 7 times 360, and you come up with 2,520 years that the Gentiles was given to rule, right? Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now you, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation of it, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but you are able, for the spirit of the holy God is in you. Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was a stone for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spoke and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or its interpretation trouble you. Belteshazzar answered and said, My lord, the dream be to them that hate you, and the interpretation of it to your enemies.
Right, this dream is not to you. This dream is to them that hate you, and it's about your enemies, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 20. The tree that you saw, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heavens, and the sight of it to all the earth. Whose leaves were fair, and its fruit much, and in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heavens had their habitation. It is you, O king, that have grown and become strong. For your greatness is grown and reaches unto heaven, and your dominion to the end of the earth. And whereas the king saw a watcher and unholy one coming down from heaven, and saying, hew the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump of its roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let him be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which is come upon my lord the king, that they shall drive you from men, and your dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make you to eat grass like oxen, and they shall wet you with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over you, till you know that the Most High rule in the kingdom of men, and give it to whomsoever he will.
Right. This brother here, this dude here had went and built him a big old statue. Had everybody to come worship that statue and everything, right? If didn't get statue, don't worship that statue. Well, you're going to do it anyway. Don't worship that statue. I'm going to throw you into that fire furnace, right? Go ahead and read, bro. Go ahead and read. See, he's going to set up his gods. Look what he named Daniel. Named him after one of his gods because Daniel could interpret dreams. Go ahead and read, bro.
And whereas they commanded to leave the stumps of the tree roots, your kingdom shall be sure unto you after you shall have known that the heavens do rule. Verse 27. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto you, and break off your sins by righteousness, and your iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if there may be a lengthening of your tranquility. Brother, they need to send this message to the White House.
Every other house, brother.
Verse 28. All this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty? While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from you, and they shall drive you from men, and your dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make you to eat grass like oxen, and 7 times shall pass over you, until you know that Yah ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will.
Amen.
The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass like oxen. And his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. And at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and mine understanding returned unto me, and I blessed Yah, and I praised and honored him who liveth forever and ever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation.
Yahweh sure got a way of making things happen to make you fall down on your knees and call on him, man, and make you recognize that he is the power. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 35. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven, and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? At the same time my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom mine honor and brightness returned unto me, and my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are true, and his ways judgment, and those that walk in pride he is able to obey.
Amen. Isaiah 45. Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 1 through verse 3. Isaiah chapter 45. Hold your place here because we're coming back here. Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 1 through verse 3, my brother. See, now he done Yahweh has given him that kingdom back and drove him out in the woods and everything, but he's still going to take it from him. He brought him back in there to rule his kingdom because he was still wanted him to rule it. But he still was going to take it from him. Now let's see who he was going to send to take it. Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 1.
Thus says Yahweh to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron, and I will give you the treasures of darkness and the hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, Yahweh, who call you by your name, am the Elohim of Israel.
Okay, my brother, I don't want to go no further than that. Now let's go back to Daniel 5 and pick that up at verse 1.
Daniel 5, verse 1. Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father, Nebuchadnezzar, had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wife, and his concubines might drink from them. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of Elohim, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wife, and his concubines drank from them.
Right. No respect for holy things, right? Those things came out of the temple of Yah. It was for the service of the priest in the temple, right? So they didn't have no respect for a holy thing. Here, this dude here then threw him a party, and he gonna, instead of drinking out of other vessels, they gonna go get all of our stuff we took from Jerusalem, bring all that stuff in here. We're gonna drink from all that gold and silver, right? Okay. Go on, brother.
Verse 4. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold, and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loose, and his knees smote one against another.
Right, have to, brother. You sitting up in here and look out and see a hand writing on the wall, brother. It's time for your knees to shake. Yeah, brother. Go ahead and read, brother.
Daniel chapter 4, verse 7. Chapter 5, verse 7. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spoke and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me its interpretation shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom.
He really wants to know what this thing here was, brother. Going to make him the third ruler in the kingdom, right? He done cried out. He's scared now, see? See? When you get scared, you have a tendency to do a whole lot of foolish things, don't you? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 8. Then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing, nor make known to the king the interpretation of it. Then was King Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were stoned. Now the queen, by reason of the words of the king and his lords, came into the banquet house, and the queen spoke and said, O king, live forever. Let not your thoughts trouble you, neither let your countenance be changed. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy God, and in the day of your father's light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods was found in him, whom the king, Nebuchadnezzar, your father, the king, I say, your father made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. For as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams and showing of hard sentences, and dissolving of doubts were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation. Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spoke and said unto Daniel, Are you that Daniel, who are the children of the captivity of Yehudah, whom the king my father brought out of Uri? I have even heard of you, that the spirit of the gods is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you.
Yet and still he wasn't called when the astrologers and soothsayers and everybody was called, or was he? Okay, yeah, go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. And now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known unto me the interpretation of it, but they could not show the interpretation of the thing. And I have heard of you that you can make interpretations and dissolve doubts. Now, if you can read the writing and make known to me the interpretation of it, you shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Then Daniel answered and said unto the king, Let your gifts be to another, and give your rewards to... Verse 17. Then Daniel answered and said unto the king, Let your gifts be to yourself, and give your rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make known to him the interpretation.
Right, keep your gifts. Because from what I see on that wall over there, boy, yeah, you ain't going to live too much long. You keep your stuff. I want nothing you got.
They were defiled anyway, right?
Of course. Yeah. Go ahead and read.
Verse 18. O thy king, the Most High Elohim gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. And for the majesty that he gave Nebuchadnezzar, all people, nation, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whom he would, he slew. And whom he would, he kept alive. And whom he would, he set up. And whom he would, he put down. But when his heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was disposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew, that the Most High Elohim ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over it whomsoever he will. And you, his son Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, though you knew all this, but have lifted up yourself against the Elohim of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before you, you and your lords, your wives, and your concubines, have drunken wine from them, and you have praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know. And the Elohim in whose hand your breath is, and whose are all your ways, have you not glorified? Then was part of the hand sent from him, and the writing was written. This writing was written, and this is the writing that was written. Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, Elohim have numbered your kingdom and finished it. Tekel, you are weighed in the balances and are found wanting.
What's going to happen when Yahweh weigh us in the balance? Huh? When the angels of the Lord, at night when you go home and you get ready to go to bed and everything and lay down and get ready to go to sleep, and your day is weighed, how do he weigh us? Something to think about. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 28. Hereas, your kingdom is divided and given to the Russians and Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. And Darius the Russian took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
Right. The Russians came in, smooth transition, right, and took over from the Babylonian kings, right? The Russians came in, just took that thing over, real smooth. Now let's go into chapter 7 and read some things that happened in chapter 7.
Verse 1.
Yeah, chapter 7 and verse 1.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter.
Now, chapter 7 should be in the place of chapter 5, because he's talking about the first year of Belshazzar, and in chapter 5 he was talking about the death of Belshazzar. But go ahead now. Just show you when people, a lot of times when folks put things together, they don't know what you're doing. Just put it there because it's there. But go ahead and read. This is why you have to have it line upon line, concept upon concept, and precept upon precept, and here a little and there a little, so you can put the story together. Scripture cannot be broken. One piece of scripture must follow another piece of scripture. So go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 2. Daniel spoke and said, I saw my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till his wings were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and may stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
This was the Shemite kingdom that came on the scene in 606 B.C., and Nebuchadnezzar was that man. We just read about him, right? Go ahead, brother.
And behold, another beast, a serpent like a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between its teeth. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
This is when the Medo-Persians came in, Belshazzar died, and the Russians took over, right? So you had one head, which was Nebuchadnezzar, and you had the next head, which was Darius, that came in 539 B.C. So they gave you 2 heads, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon its back 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
The beast had 4 heads. The Greeks with Alexander the Great came in 333 B.C., and Alexander never really did rule the whole kingdom. He died, and his kingdom was divided up among his 4 generals: Seleucus of Syria, Ptolemys of Egypt, Cassander of Russia, and Lucimanus of Rome, right? So that gave us 4 here and 2 other heads. That gave us 6 heads, right? Okay, now let's pick up this 7th head. Remember, the beast in Revelation had 7 heads, 10 horns, didn't it? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces, and stamped the residue with its feet, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
It did what? It had great iron teeth, right? It devoured the whole earth, then it broke in pieces, and then right now it's stamping the residue. The Roman Empire is stamping the residue of the earth with its feet, and it's different from all the beasts that was before it. It's very different from all the beasts that was before it. This is the one that the Messiah is going to bust up. See, this is that ultra-religious kingdom that Satan was going to put in place when he said in Isaiah 14, I'm going to exalt my throne above the stars of God. I'm going to sit in the temple in Jerusalem. I'm going to be just like the Most High. Look around. Everybody almost you see are Christians, ain't they? Okay. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before which there was 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
This is the Roman Catholic Church. This is the Roman Catholic Church coming up on the scene right here. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels is burning fire.
Right, he saw the chariot of Israel, didn't he? We talking about in the first, he's going into the first resurrection here, so he saw the chariot of Israel. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 10. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 1,000 thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld them because of the voice of the great words which the horn spoke. I beheld even to the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame.
In other words, he saw the same thing John the Revelator saw then, didn't he? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 12. As for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time.
For a year and 3 months, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 13. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him.
Now, what you do right there, where you go right there, if you want to find some, if you just want to keep continuing in the events that's going to happen, right there, go to Revelations 4 and verse 1 through chapter 7 and verse 9. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 14. And that was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed.
Praise God.
I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near to one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts, which are four kings who shall arise out of the earth.
4 empires, right? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, brother.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
That's not what we hear coming out of the church.
Not at all.
They say they're going to sneak away from here and go to heaven. See, the Lord going to meet it. The Lord going to show up in the air. He's going to be scared to come to this bad boy and just bring his folks on up there and take them on off to heaven, and they're going to be all right, right? Mm-hmm. But what Daniel, so what the angel of the Lord Gabriel told Daniel is this: but the saints of the Most High shall take that kingdom and possess it forever, even forever and ever. Go ahead and read, bro.
Verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass, which devoured, broke in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet, and of the 10 horns that were in its head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spoke very great things, whose look was more stout than its fellows. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them.
Who you think making war with us? Huh? It was the Christians that brought us over here, slaves. It was.
True.
Huh?
Very true.
It was the Christians that called the people that wanted to be called Christians that called the apostles Christians first at Antioch, wasn't it? See, when you go and read the Crusades, read the history of the Crusades, and you're going to find out one thing: they were a bunch of bloodthirsty, paganistic people who was ravishing the earth. That's all. That's all they was doing. It had nothing to do with religion. It had to do with gold, silver, and jewels.
Dudes, knights, and earls.
Right, right. Onward Christian soldiers marching off the wall. Right. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 23?
22.
Okay.
Let's start read 21 again.
Okay. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed it.
In Revelations 12 chapter tell you, and when the dragon was cast out, he went to make war with the remnant of the woman's seed that brought forth the man-child that was going to rule all nations, right? Satan is not making war against the nations. Satan got the nations doing what he wants them to do. Satan is making the war against the children of God. That's who Satan is making war. He wants to make God a lie, but it's impossible for God to lie. Go ahead and read, my brother.
Yeah. Verse 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings.
Okay, the 3 kings that were subdued was after Rome fell in 476 A.D., the Hurleys, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths began to sack the Roman Empire, and Emperor Justinian, allied with Pope St. Leo, and just took away all of their power. Go ahead and read, my brother.
Verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change the times and the law.
Got some new rules. Sunday is the Sabbath day. See? We're going to celebrate Christ's birthday, December 25th. We're not going to Judaize. We're not going to go in and keep that stuff, that junk that old God taught. See? We're going to give y'all some new rules. We're going to give y'all some holidays instead of holy days. We're going to set Christ's birthday December 25th on the winter solstice, right? And we're going to have his resurrection on the spring equinox. See? New rules, right? Wait till the other rules come out.
Then we're going to put your women over you.
Well, can't say nothing about that. That's what Yahweh said was going to happen. A woman's going to surpass a man, so we can look for that, brother.
So what they had to do, they had to enjoin the church with all this to galvanize the people.
Sure.
Bring in all this paganism.
Right. That's what kept the people together, religion. Go ahead, my brother.
Verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change the times and the law. And they shall be given into his hand unto 3½ years. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him.
It says, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. So the kingdom is going to be given to Israel, right? This is why man is trying to destroy your inheritance. See, because he knows that once you get in place, the nations are going to be glad to see you in place. You know why? Every man is going to sit on his own vine, and every man on his own fig tree, and nobody's going to make him afraid. Ezekiel 34 and verse 11 through verse 30, my brother. Ezekiel 34 and verse 11 through verse 30.
The brothers, like I heard you say often, you can grasp a natural kingdom and peace being set up upon the earth, but going up to heaven, trying to figure out what you're going to do in heaven, that's far away. That's far-fetched.
Well, that's what you're going to have to do, figure it out, because he haven't told you anything you're going to do in there.
Right.
See, so you can figure out anything you want to and talk any lies that they say. We're going to heaven, we're going to rule up there for a while, and then we're going to come back down here and rule on this earth. Hell, you already been ruling 2,520 years.
Can't give up that power.
Right, get somebody else to turn.
Why?
Ezekiel chapter 34, and pick that up at verse 11. Let's see what Yahweh said he was going to do about this thing.
But thus says the Lord God, behold, I, even I, will both search my sheep and seek them out.
Amen.
As a shepherd seek out his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered, so will I seek out my sheep, and will deliver them out of all places where they have been scattered in the cloudy and dark days. And I will bring them out from the people, and gather them from the countries, and will bring them to their own land, and feed them upon the mountains of Israel by the rivers, and in all the inhabited places of the country. I will feed them in a good pasture, and upon the high mountains of Israel shall their fold be. There shall they lie in a good fold, and in a fat pasture shall they feed upon the mountains of Israel. I will feed my flock, and I will cause them to lie down, says the Lord God.
Amen.
I will seek that which was lost, and bring again that which was driven away, and will bind up that which was broken, and will strengthen that which was sick. But I will destroy the fat and the strong. I will feed them with judgment.
Amen.
And as for you, O my flock, thus says the Lord God, behold, I judge between cattle and cattle, between the rams and the he-goats.
Amen.
Seemeth it a small thing unto you to have eaten of the good pasture, but you must tread down with your feet the residue of your pastures, and to have drunk of the deep waters, but you must foul the residue with your feet. And as for my flock, they eat that which you have trodden with your feet, and they drink that which you have plowed with your feet. Therefore, thus says the Lord God unto them, Behold, I, even I, will judge between the fat cattle and between the lean cattle. Because you have thrust with side and with shoulder, and pushed all the disease with your horns till you have scattered them abroad, therefore will I save my flock, and they shall no more be a prey, and I will judge between cattle and cattle. And I will set up one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them. Even my servant David, he shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd.
Amen.
And I, Yahweh, will be their Elohim. And my servant David a prince among them. I, Yahweh, have spoken.
Sometime when you get a chance to get in Ezekiel and start at Ezekiel chapter 44 and read up to the end of the prophet Ezekiel, and you can very well see when the millennial kingdom is set up, David will be the prince that's going to sit in the east gate to make sacrifice for his people. Go ahead and read, my brother.
Verse 25. And I will make with them a covenant of peace, and will cause the evil beasts to cease from the land. And they shall dwell safely in the wilderness and sleep in the woods. And I will make them and the places round about my hill a blessing. And I will cause the shower to come down in its season. There shall be showers of blessing. And the tree of the field shall yield its fruit, and the earth shall yield its increase. And they shall be safe in their land, and shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have broken the bands of their yoke, and delivered them out of the hands of those who serve themselves of them.
And everybody else is going to live good and well and in prosperity in their own land, and nobody's going to make them afraid. Go ahead, my brother. This is what the world's been waiting on, peace. But like I always say, how can the world have peace and we in turmoil? That don't make sense. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 28. And they shall no more be a prey to the heathen, neither shall the beasts of the land devour them. But they shall dwell safely, and none shall make them afraid. And I will raise up for them a plan of renown, and they shall be no more consumed with hunger in the land, neither by the shame of the heathen anymore. Thus shall they know that I, Yahweh, their Elohim, am with them, and that they, even the house of Israel, are my people, says the Lord God.
Okay, my brother. Let's go back into Daniel chapter 8 and pick that up at verse 15. Daniel chapter 8 and verse 15.
And it came to pass, when I, even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me one having the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Uli, who called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision.
At the time of the end is this vision going to be, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 8. Now as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make you know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed the end shall be. The ram which thou sawest, having two horns, these are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now they being broken, whereas four stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nations, but not in his power.
In other words, Alexander the Great wasn't going to rule it, right? Go ahead, brother.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
Look at us. NAFTA has caused us a very serious problem, a serious economic problem. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince or princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
Right, that craft that he's going to cause to prosper in his hand is going to be the religions that we have to deal with. And when you look at Christianity, it truly is a cult, but it's a craft. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 26. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut you up the vision, for it shall be for many days. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up and did the king's business. And I was astonished at the vision, but none understood.
Right, I guess he should be astonished at the vision. He said what's going to happen, he's going to also stand up against the prince of princes. I guess he should be astonished. Who can stand in that war? Daniel chapter 8 and verse 1.
In the third year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai.
So he was in what is modern-day Iran, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before a river a ram which had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other.
Okay, so we're talking about the Medes and the Persians, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead, brother.
And the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great.
Okay, now we know that the Medo-Persian Empire came in, and the Persian king Cyrus was the one that issued the decree for Israel to go back into the land, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the Persians had the power at first, but then after Belshazzar died off, we know that Darius the Russian came in and took over the kingdom, and then it was a total Russian kingdom at that time with the Russians in power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west over the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
Now here come the Greek Empire with Alexander the Great. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 6. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him move close unto the ram, and he was moved with anger against him, and smote the ram, and broke his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
When Alexander the Great met his Waterloo, his kingdom was divided up into the Ptolemies of Egypt, Cassandra of Russia, the Seleucids of Mesopotamia, and Lucimanus of Rome, who was given out of that came Remus and Romulus, the one that was given the credit of building Rome, right? Yeah. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceedingly great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them.
Now we're talking about the Roman Catholic Church, right? Mm-hmm. Now we are talking about Christendom, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host.
Don't they call him Papa? That's what Pope mean, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So he has magnified himself to the prince of the host, then hasn't he? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, brother.
And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered.
Now, remember last week we read where it said he was going to think to change times and laws, right? So what did he do? He cast the truth to the ground. They institute holidays that the Bible does not back up, right? And man still are keeping those same days today, contrary to what Yahweh had to say. But what man say is this: we're serving God. How can you serve God and don't keep His law? Mm-hmm. See, it's impossible to serve the true and living God in truth and in righteousness without keeping His law. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 13. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint who spoke, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed.
Okay, verse 23, brother.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
And shall destroy, it said, and in the latter time of the kingdom, when the transgressors are come to a full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He will have the power of Satan. We're going to read that this man spoke as a dragon. And we know that Satan is the dragon, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 25. And through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without him.
In other words, this man is going to be on the scene when the Messiah shows up, and he's going to fight against the Messiah, right? Contrary to what they tell you in the church, that the Lord's going to appear up in the air and say, okay, all y'all who love me, come on up here, and everybody's going to disappear. That's not what's going to happen. Daniel said he's going to stand up against the prince of princes. In other words, he's going to go to war against the men. To war against the men, isn't it? Right. Go ahead, brother. Where? Yeah.
Is this why you read the exchange between Rabshakeh and
right.
The people on the wall and all that?
Right. Right. Precisely, brother. I'm glad you picked that up.
Same propaganda.
Right.
Work.
Right. Right.
God sent me to do this.
Right. Right. Glad you picked that up, brother. Yeah. Go ahead and read.
Verse 26. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. And I, Daniel, fainted, and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Russians, who was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years concerning which the word of Yahweh came to Yirmiyahu the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem.
In other words, like we read last week, when the Babylonians, when the Arabs came in, see, we don't get back here and read this part of the scripture, so we don't understand that the Babylonians are the Arabs today. See? So we walk around talking about awesome lake. See? We change all our children's names to become Arabic names, not knowing that those people had us in captivity too. You see? But we don't read this part of history, so we have a tendency to do with this the same thing that we did with Christianity. We grabbed onto our enemy's religion, you see, and then when some of us got tired of that, we said, well, we're going to grab on it to Islam because it is an alternative to Christianity, and it teaches us that the white man is the devil, right? Now Louis Farrakhan saying he don't believe the white man is the devil. That's what he say when he go to the church and speak to Gentiles. When he go to the Christian church, he's all off into their Jesus. You see what I mean? But they don't come over here. See, they don't come over here because the people in this congregation have the spirit of the true and living God, and they can go in this book here and bust up his stuff. But go ahead and read it.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 3. And I set my face unto the Lord God to seek by prayer and supplication with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed unto Yahweh my Elohim, and made my confession, and said, O Adonai, the great and terrible Elohim, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him, and to them that keep his commandments, we have sinned, and have committed iniquity, and have done wickedly, and have rebelled even by departing from your precepts and from your judgments.
That's the reason why we went into Babylonian captivity. That's the reason why we're captives today, because our fathers did not keep the laws of God. And right now today, Satan tell us, through his ministers tell us, you don't have to keep the law. See, Paul said, we're not under the law, we're under grace. Well, how can God judge the world without law? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 6. Neither have we hearkened unto your servants the prophets, who spoke in your name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Adonai, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faith, as at this day. To the men of Yehuda and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far, through all the countries to which you have driven them because of their trespass that they have trespassed against you. O Adonai, to us belongeth confusion of faith, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against thee. To the Adonai, our Elohim, belongeth mercies and forgivenesses, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of Yahweh. Yes, sir. Daniel chapter 9, verse 9. To the Adonai, our Elohim, belong mercies and forgivenesses, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of Yahweh, our Elohim, to walk in his laws which he set before us by his servants, the prophets. Yea, all Israel have transgressed your law, even by departing, that they might not obey your voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moshe, the servant of Elohim, because we have sinned against him. And he hath confirmed his words which he spoke against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moshe, all this evil is come upon us. Yet may we not our prayer before Yahweh, our Elohim, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand your truth. Therefore have Yahweh watched upon the evil and brought it upon us. For Yahweh, our Elohim, is righteous in all his works which he doeth, for we obey not his voice. And now, O Adonai, our Elohim, who have brought your people forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and have gotten you renowned as at this day, we have sinned, we have done wickedly. O Adonai, according to all your righteousness, I beseech thee, let your anger and your fury be turned away from your city, Jerusalem, your holy mountain. Because for our sins and for the iniquities of our fathers, Jerusalem and your people are becoming reproach to all that are about us. Now therefore, O our Elohim, hear the prayer of your servant and his supplications, and cause your face to shine upon your sanctuary that is desolate for the Adonai's sake. O my Elohim, incline your ear and hear. Open your eyes and behold our desolations and the city which is called by your name. For we do not present our supplications before you for our righteousness, but for your great mercy.
Amen.
O Adonai, hear. O Adonai, forgive. O Adonai, hearken and do. Defer not for your own sake, O my Elohim, for your city and your people are called by your name.
Amen. It's called the Mount of Zion, isn't it? Isn't the house of Judah called Zion? Okay. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 20. And while I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people, Israel, and presenting my supplication before Yahweh my Elohim, for the holy mountain of my Elohim, yea, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation.
No, that don't mean he had no wings on his back. See, we figure everything that fly got to have wings on it. When David saw that angel standing up above the city of Jerusalem with a sword drawn, he didn't have no wings, did he? The only thing that we saw that had wings was those two beings, those two female beings that took that ephod and built it in the house of Shinar when they were setting up the Roman Catholic and the Christian church, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 22. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give you skill and understanding. Amen. At the beginning of your supplications, the commandment came forth, and I have come to show you. For you are greatly beloved, therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon your people and upon your holy city to finish the transgressions and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again and the wall even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end of it shall be with the flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
In other words, all of these things is going to take place. That what's going to be poured upon the desolate will take place from the year 70 A.D. when Titus invaded Jerusalem until the regathering of the remnant of the children of Israel.